So what does it really mean to be literate? Is it just about being able to sign your name? Or is it something way more powerful? In this explainer, we're going to dig into how the very idea of literacy has grown from just a basic skill into a tool for changing your life and even the world.
All right, let's get right into it. But before we start digging into all the official definitions and the history, I want to start with a real story, to put a human face on this whole topic. So, this is Rama. She's 21 years old, a farmer in rural India, and her story, well, it's the story of millions of people.
You see, Rama couldn't read, she couldn't write, couldn't even do basic math. Her parents were also illiterate, the school was too far away, and honestly, they needed her help on the farm. She was kind of trapped in this cycle of illiteracy. And this is a story we see over and over, where poverty just builds these walls around education, and it gets passed down from one generation to the next.
Rama's story really drives home the real-world consequences, right? So now that we see what the problem looks like, let's flip it around and really explore what the solution, literacy, actually is. And that brings us right back to our big question. What does it actually mean to be literate? It sounds so simple, but believe me, the answer is way more complex than you might think, and it's changed a lot over the years. Okay, so check this out. On one side, you have the common view. Being literate just means you can sign your name. Simple. But then you have the expert view from an educator named Paulo Freire, who says it's the ability to liberate oneself from exploitation. Whoa, that's a massive leap, isn't it? We're talking about going from a signature to, well, freedom. Official groups have tried to kind of find a middle ground. You've got the Indian census saying it's for anyone 7 and up who can read and write with understanding. And UNESCO, way back in 1958, said something similar, being able to read and write a simple statement about your everyday life with understanding. See that word again? Understanding. It's not just about seeing letters on a page, it's about getting what they mean in the context of your own life. That's the key. Okay, so if the definition itself is changing, it makes sense that the way we teach literacy has to change too, right? And India's journey here is a fantastic example. It shows this really fascinating evolution in thinking that mirrors these changing definitions.
And this timeline lays it all out perfectly. You start back in the 40s, and it's all about the basics, the 3 Rs. Fast forward to the 60s, and suddenly it's about functional literacy, skills for your job. Then the 80s hit, and bam, a huge shift to critical literacy. And that brings us to today, where we see it as this lifelong journey, something that's tied to our basic human rights.
Let's zoom in on that a bit. The old school traditional approach was just learning to read for the sake of reading. But the functional approach, that was a total game changer. It tied literacy directly to your life. So for example, a tailor doesn't just learn math because it's on a test. They learn math so they can take correct measurements, do a better job, and probably make more money. It makes learning instantly useful.
And that functional idea leads us to the most radical shift of all, this big word, conscientization. It's a concept from Paulo Freire, the same guy from before, and he argued that literacy isn't just about reading the word, it's about learning to read the world. I mean, how powerful is that? It was completely revolutionary. The goal wasn't just to help you function inside the system anymore, it was to give you the tools to question the system, maybe even change it. It's about understanding the forces that shape your life and realizing you have a say in them. And Freire himself put it perfectly. He called literacy an instrument that makes it possible for people to realize they can change their own situation. This just completely flips the script on education. It's not about passively receiving information anymore. It's about active empowerment.
So that's the theory, but what about the real-world impact? What happens when these ideas are put into practice? Let's take a look at the numbers and see what the results are.
And the progress has been, well, pretty incredible. By 2011, India's literacy rate had climbed to 74.4%. Now, that might just sound like a number, but consider this. Just 2 decades earlier, in 1991, it was only 52.21%. That's a huge leap in a relatively short time. But, the story doesn't end there. That 74.4% also means that, at the time, over a quarter of the population, 25.6%, still couldn't read or write. It's a really powerful reminder of just how massive this challenge still is.
So if you look at all this effort, where did it have the biggest bang for its buck? Where was the biggest ripple effect? The data is crystal clear. Investing in female literacy. And this is exactly why it's so important. When women become literate, you see this amazing domino effect. Fertility rates go down, infant mortality drops, their own kids are less likely to drop out of school. On top of that, family nutrition improves, and population growth slows down. It's not just about one person learning to read, it's a multiplier that lifts up entire families, entire communities. And this really brings us full circle, back to that modern goal we saw in the timeline. The idea today is that basic literacy isn't the finish line, it's just the starting block. It's the first critical step on a never-ending journey of learning and growing, which is totally essential in the kind of knowledge-based world we live in now. It's about giving people like Rama the key to unlock a totally different future.
So in the end, we've gone from just decoding letters on a page to decoding the world around us. Literacy isn't just learning to read, it's learning to ask why. So I'll leave you with this. If you were just handed that powerful new tool, what's the first question you would ask?